Hello and welcome to the Troyiverse. This is episode 26. It is Saturday, April 4th. It is currently raining. It is 3:06. I was luckily able to get my comic books before the downpour happened, so I don't have to worry about running around in the rain with a brown paper bag and comics. That's in my book bag. But yeah, it's been so much happening that it's no real way to keep up with the news of the war and of jeez, it's so much stuff. Apparently, the Mandela effect of the Cheshire Crescent Moon. Apparently, that has always been a thing, even though if you are one of those who are privy to the Mandela effect and understanding quantum jumping and yada yada yada, there are individuals like myself who have never, and I mean never, unless it was in some type of video game construct or concept, have never seen a Cheshire Crescent Moon. For those who aren't familiar, Cheshire Cat from Alice in Wonderland, or Down a Rabbit Hole, or the cat who was Cheshire that smiled, and when he disappeared, the last thing that you see was his eyes and his smile, or the last thing you see would be a smile. There was recently a Cheshire Crescent Moon, like last week, and more people are trying to emote that has always been the thing. While you have people like me who have never seen that before a day in our lives and never seen that on the moon chart of different phases of the moon. It would be like a full moon, half moon, crescent moon on the right or the left or the east or the west or whatever, but never north or south or up and down crescent moon. So that's interesting. Apparently, there has been some scientists who have looked up and did research, basically saying that yes, this is a new thing, and because of this new phenomenon, if you know or do any research about the moon and how the moon affects water, apparently there's going to be some type of polarizing addition to the effects of the ocean and how the ocean will start to settle or start to gravitate to different locations because of this new trajectory of this Cheshire Crescent Moon. So, I mean, do your own research. I just seen like one article that I looked up myself and read, a bit about it and what my previous knowledge of it is. But of course, do your own research. It's interesting because it also comes on the heels of what I previously seen, last week or 2 weeks ago, regarding August 12th, where apparently NASA put out there without any type of background information. It just was like, it's a possibility Earth might lose gravity for like 8 seconds. Like I said, do your own research, look up the article, and if you are brave enough, look up any type of YouTube video or science research that speaks about the hypothetical of if the Earth lost gravity for 8 seconds, 5 seconds, 3 seconds, whatever, at your own leisure. Jeez. Anyway, apparently, I also read that the orange fuckwad gave Iran another 48 hours. I feel like he is a really big fan of Eddie Murphy, and he loved the 48 hours and another 48 hours, and he wanted another 48 hours because he just gave them 48 hours like last week, like a week and a half ago, and they keep saying no, like fuck you, which I'm also really happy about, because the fact, not happy about that, I am happy about that, but I'm happy about the regards of Iran literally sent a letter to the American citizens that do not support this bullshit ass war. It was like, listen, just impeach your president. We know all y'all don't agree with this. However, he's still your president. So get your shit right. Because we not trying to fuck with y'all. We trying to fuck with him and his people. So get your shit right. Like they're warning it. Matter of fact, it's I'm hoping and I'm looking for an impeachment to happen soon. If not for other speculations of him, transitioning and going to hell where he belongs. Like South Park told us 2 decades ago. But yeah, like they blew up a bridge, which is definitely a war crime, under what is it, the Geneva Convention. The no attacks should be shown to, one, again, attack civilians, which that was one of the first strikes that it's not real and Dump Trunk did, which was kill a school full of children, like 170 children, boys, girls, and teachers as well. And now they keep escalating, even though they have constantly lied about what's going on in this war, about the different U.S. casualties of different soldiers, about the was it the tanker, or because I don't think it was a submarine. I think it was like the naval fleet was shot and had explosion and fire, and they tried to say it was something else when it was just actual attack. Now, mind you, understandably so, they're not going to try to just talk about their failures because they don't want to exacerbate the fact of they are in the wrong and they're losing the war that they started. But they keep on antagonizing and keep on trying to throw these weird ass threats to say, oh, stop doing what you're doing, which is beating us up, and then surrender to us who are losing, and maybe we'll make y'all lick our boots more. I don't know what Trump's and his weirdo delusional ideology is, but like at this point, it's just it's pretty pathetic. It really is pathetic. Like at this point, it feels like he's literally being trolled on the world stage, and any type of respect America might have had in the last like 10 years have now just been fucking gone. It's done. Like, I've been saying this since he first got in office, his first term. he made America a reality show, and it's sad because the fact that it's not it's not entertaining. It's just pathetic. It's just a crazy. It's the. I don't even want to use the term emperor because he keep using the fact of trying to say he's a king and shit like that. But emperor wears no clothes or like that, or emperor's new clothes or emperor new groove, whatever title that you want to call it. It's the same thing. The dude is delusional. More than likely has dementia. Like he was literally calling another man the president and was talking about himself, about how the man he was referring to lost his mind and was crazy and isn't fit to be the president while sitting in the Oval Office talking about some other person being the president. It's ridiculous. So, with that, I'm just going to go back to talking about my life and the things that I've learned, the things that I experienced, and getting from where I was to where I'm at now, which is so funny and peaceful because it's like I said, it's entertainment to me to watch all this stuff happen because I know I'm fine. I know I'm going to be fine. Not on some like, you know, if an atomic bomb were to blow up and we all end up getting killed because of these fucktards blowing up the world. My belief system and the thing that I'm aligned with is the scientific spiritual property of infinite life, which means my consciousness will leave from this timeline and go into another joining timeline where the nuclear bomb didn't happen. Nuclear holocaust or nuclear Armageddon did not happen. And since I have also experienced some quantum jumps and quantum leaps already, I'm pretty confident in my awareness of that I'm going to be okay. Once again, in the previous podcast, I spoke about when I died and what I experienced, some of the stuff I experienced. I didn't talk about everything because that's not meant for everybody, but the experience of solitude and peace and enlightenment and the lack of just odor. Because that's the thing. It's just on that side in the void. It's just consciousness. So the things I've seen or things I witnessed and experienced were coming to me on a mental projection type thing. It was a telepathic link to affinity and beyond. But like I said, when it comes down to an individual's perception or perception of their idea or identity of what they believe in, then wholeheartedly that's what they're aligned with. So everyone is not going to have an identical aspect of the afterlife because of so many indoctrinations of Christianity and of, you know, Muslim or Islam and Buddhism, because so many people have their belief system in those doctrines, then it becomes a point of they are creating their combined reality of this concept of heaven that they all have some piece of the pie or stake to believe in. Which is also, if you look at a lot of the Gnostic records and the Ashanti records, that is technically a trap, a soul trap that allows for your soul to constantly keep on being reincarnated into a same hell loop until you become enlightened enough to expand your consciousness to break out of that trap. Because, I mean, at this point, if you're not aware of the hypocrisy of a lot of different religions that's out there and spirituality stuff that's out there, when it comes down to it, then you're still on your journey till you figure it out. And maybe in a way you can be that black sheep for that religion or for that spirituality to actually do the right thing in those decrees or doctrines, to change it for the better. Because similar to what was mentioned in God of War Ragnarok, when Kratos ended up getting the sword from, was it the undead king at the end, and he was like, I'll use this sword now, and my mayor's like, no brother, you ain't listen to me, like that sword has a history of like villainy and treachery and death and like murder and yada yada. And Kratos was like, true, but the sword story isn't over yet, and I'll use this for, good and for helping and saving and yada yada yada. And it was just a poignant piece of just understanding, like, yeah, just because someone or something has a history or a past that isn't great or is downright just treacherous, things happen, things change, and that's what's the point of evolving is. It's about moving past or moving forward in a way to either atone or to find a balance in what you originally gave out or what that thing originally was made for, the purpose of that thing or individual. And it's interesting because I went through like I said, a similar transition with that myself, because it definitely started before my daughter was born. It started before I knew she was going to be born or she was going to be materialized. It started before I even met her mother. It was a point where, even though when I was 8, and no reason to refocus on that, but when that happened to me, changing my directive of saying, okay, if I'm not going to do this school education right now, then I'm going to educate myself in a way so I can learn as much as possible. And then of course that led me back to learning so much and learning everything I have learned, which took me back to the educational standpoint, where now the things I've learned in my natural everyday to day life outside of the school curriculum has allowed me to basically excel and soar through my new educational curriculum in university, which once again I'm still at a GPA of 3.93, Dean's List, and if I were to apply myself and put in extra credit and stuff like that, I could get back on the president list. But ironically enough, my only goal originally was just to pass, just to get my degrees and pass, to have this new not new alignment, but have this present alignment of just being on the president list or dean's list and yada yada yada, is now just allowed me to become secure enough in myself to be like, this is where I belong, because I put myself here. It wasn't anyone who can say they helped me with this. It's like once again, I've mentioned this before, it's not like my family or our friends support me or celebrate me. It's not like when I got my first degree, it was like posting me up on the socials and congratulating me, or saying, hey, let me take you out to dinner, or let me buy you a bottle of wine, hell, a bottle of beer or something. Not even a text message just saying good job. But even with that, I've always held this isolated posture where I just felt more comfortable in celebrating by myself, because once again my family never celebrated me, but two, because the fact that it was just, I used to feel like a burden to people. I used to feel like if I were to ask for anything, then people would have to go out their way just to do the bare minimal. And I would feel that energy from them regardless of them saying it or not. And it wouldn't come into a fruition until later when I actually would hear them say stuff after the fact. It was like, well, we just did that for you. Now you going to ask for something else? And that was literally, that came from my aunt when she was still living, where it was, I was talking about my books, and I was talking about, promoting my books and stuff like that I got. And her response was, well, we just said happy birthday to you. We just made a happy birthday video for you. Now you want us to promote your book. And it was just like, oh, okay, yeah. Y'all promote everybody else's stuff. I wouldn't understand why not. But, that's their journey. Was their journey. But, and that's some of my family members, blood family members, that's still their journey. That's why I don't talk to them. I removed myself from their, atmosphere. But regardless of that, that led me into how I dealt with different relationships. It was always a thing of, like I said before, I would jump into relationships where I would do the most to be as supportive and loving and endearing as possible, but I would never in return ask or present myself in a way to say, hey, this is the help I need, or this is what I would love to experience back from you as my partner. So I will always get the short end of the stick, and that was always my fault, because I didn't communicate that to my partners if that's what I needed. And it got to a point where that's led into going into my 20s and, my 30s of just being a whore and just being like, if I can't communicate the needs that I want in an intimate setting, if I don't feel comfortable enough or confident enough to do that, then I'm still comfortable and confident enough to have coitus, to like woo these different individuals to sleep with me, and we have a mutual understanding of this is sex, and this sex is going to help us both achieve orgasms with each other's help. And that was the decree, that was the thing. And then it got to a point where after over a decade plus of doing just that, I just was like, I want something deeper. I want something more intimate. I want a connection. It's not just about me finding these different random individuals I can sleep with. Now I want to have one or more individuals that I can actually genuinely be myself with, like genuinely connect with, genuinely like understand them, and they in turn understand me. And that was one of the things I really was looking for. And I thought I had it with a couple of like my exes. Like I met another Gemini who was from out of Philadelphia, and we had a lot in common. But my financial status was not the thing that was on her level of where she wanted her partner to be, which is her journey, not knocking it. And of course, like anything, I can see both sides of the argument when it comes down to you should see somebody for their potential, as well as you should not put all your eggs in one basket for somebody's potential. So it was one of those type of things, especially at that point, even though I was looking for a relationship and somebody to grow with, somebody that we both could learn from each other and learn more about ourselves with ourselves, and then we could become who we were destined or meant to be. it was also one of those things that I was still feeling a certain type of way about the fact that it was so easy to just create this caricature of myself that was appealing to so many different other people that allowed me to have access to them sexually and yada yada. That I felt like what it was. I felt like Robert Downey Jr.'s character in Tropic Thunder, where it was like I'm the dude, play the dude that's played the other dude, because it was just like, well, who's the real Troy? Who's the real me behind all these different like personas that I created over the years, like, and that became kind of like my first aspect of my journey of just being like, who is Troy in this? And the young lady that was a Gemini and we broke up for odd reasons, honestly. Like, it was valid with certain knowledge wasn't able to be accessed at the time. This was happening. So while we was together, we went over to a Christmas party over one of my younger cousin's places, his apartment. He was living here with his girlfriend at the time, his best friend, and his best friend's girlfriend, who the two young ladies were twin sisters. So all four of those living in the house. One of the dudes did not wash up or have proper hygiene at all, and I didn't know that at the time because I'm never really over. I was never over there. One of my old best friends, him and his girlfriend, which his ex-girlfriend was one of my ex-girlfriends. She was one of my first ex-girlfriends. She was the one that actually started this whole thing, which was like me looking for love and having a hole in my heart, yada yada yada. But they used to hang out with my younger cousin and their friends a lot. And this is also when I was on like sabbatical, or like I was on my isolation mode, or I was just on my dating mode, because I was sort of like Paul Rudd from I Love You Man. Like, I would have male friends, but when I got into a relationship, all the male friends would kind of like fall off to the wayside type thing. And I would just be like, I'm getting, having coitus, and so I'm kind of like focused on trying to make sure this relationship works and everybody is happy and yada yada yada, maintaining the core dynamic of the relationship. But so my younger cousin, and my ex best friend and my ex girlfriend used to all hang out. So when I came back to the fold, I was like, yeah, it's the holidays, we're not doing much, let's like hang out, like blah blah blah. Went over to my cousin's place, we was all there, a couple of his other friends was all there, we was all just chilling, and we got into the groove of the night of just drinking and just enjoying ourselves, dancing. And then it got to the point where me and my ex-bro was all like, alright, from now on, we're all adults, and we're all just adults. Nobody's in an entanglement. Everybody's just here to have a good time, and what happens happens. Yeah, it was basically Vegas. We basically was trying to make my younger cousin's apartment in Vegas. So in the midst of that, playing like, I don't know, card games and Cards Against Humanity or blah blah blah. I don't know. We was just playing games. One of the games ended up being a thing where it was like a spin the bottle esque, like sexual innuendo type shit. So the Gemini I was with at the time, she got, I guess, a dare where the non-hygienic one was allowed to finger her. So I'm like, hey, if you cool with it, you comfortable with it, that's your body autonomy, have fun. I'm not jealous, I'm enjoying the moment, yada yada yada, because I'm a voyeur. I'm an exhibitionist and a voyeur. So seeing sex as well as being seen having sex is fine for me. So I'm just like enjoying the whole concept and like, yeah, alright, cool. So we went back, to her place the next that night. Went back home that night. Nothing else happened. It wasn't like it got crazy. It wasn't like it's a sex orgy party. Even though I've been to a couple of orgy parties, which have been phenomenal. But um, we went back home, relaxed, chilled, stuff like that. I think I had to go home the next day, so literally we like. Actually, I don't know if I went home with her because yeah, okay, nope, I am wrong. I did not go home because I was right near. I was near my home because my younger cousin's house was near my place, so she dropped me off at the house. She went home, did her thing, went back to her apartment. I want to say like a week later because she was living in Norristown at the time. So I want to say like a week later, a couple of days, not even a week later, a couple of days later, a day and a half later, or like that. I got a call and she was like, "We gotta talk," and I was like, "What's going on?" And that's when she apparently had like an infection and she had to get antibiotics and stuff like that. She blamed me because, of course, she wasn't fucking anybody else. Like, I believe her. I don't think she was cheating on me or anything like that. But she got an infection. So I'm like, well, I'm not fucking sick. I don't have anything. I'll get checked out all the goddamn time. But I was like, just to be clear, let me go get checked out and yada yada yada. Got checked out, brought her results, clean and clear, nothing, going on. But she was like, I don't believe it, and we ended up breaking up. I learned later, like a year or two later, that him not being hygienic, he didn't wash his hands, so it was nothing but germs and crud all up on his fingers, under his fingernails, yada yada yada. Hence, guys, like, wash your hands, wash up, just wash up. Also, ladies, don't let anybody just stick their hands in you. There's germs and just so much bacteria everywhere. That's why I'm a germaphobe. Like, I'm very selective when it comes down to who I want around me or in my vicinity, let alone putting people or other things in my mouth. Like, I don't. That's not my thing. I don't. Like, but regardless, yeah. So it wasn't until like years later when me and her actually reconnected again, and I was like, "Oh, I'm not sure we talked about this, but X, Y, Z." And I told her about yada 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 about his hygiene and not being able to, like, him not washing his hands and yada yada yada. And it was just comical for me. Luckily, the antibiotics for her cleared out her system and she was fine. But it was just like, it's fucked up. I feel bad for her, and I felt even worse for my cousin and his girlfriend's sister. But that's a whole another journey, and that's their journey to go on. It's not mine. But regardless, it was later came out that it was also a thing where not only was the catalyst of her getting an infection was one of the last straws, one of the other straws was about my financial status. And it just became a thing of like, fair, that's what you wanted from me. I wasn't providing that, so it was good to know. But at the same time, for me, I'm like, I'm trying to find somebody I can grow with. Now, I don't know, maybe it was always just my harebrained ideology of watching different shows growing up and being like, seeing how the Ryan Coogler story type thing of being like, yeah, I got my lady with me and her, like, we trying to go to school together, or one go to school while the other one work, and the other one go to school after the other one finished and they're working, and then we just grow and build off of that. And I was like, if I can find my person or people that want to grow with me in that regard, then yeah, that'd be dope. But it was always these concepts or these conversations of me finding these women that always wanted me to be completely established, and it was like, okay, but we're both in the same position. Like, if at the time I was living at my home, my family home, when they was living with their family, like, we'd be in the same position. Either I would have a car and they wouldn't, or we would, neither of us would have a car, or maybe one of us would have a car and they wouldn't, I wouldn't. It'd be like, all right, like, we're building something together. Like, but it's always just, and it's not one of those things where I'm like, oh yeah, women are gold diggers, not like that. Like, I get it. Like, I get financial security. I get the whole concept of being able to be confident and comfortable about where y'all going to be laying your head and where y'all going to have the next meal and stuff like that. However, there's a many different Lil Wayne type men who want to flash their money and do that for everybody. But for me, growing up, that never been a thing where I felt comfortable with, because it always was like, all right, do you want me or do you want what's in my wallet? Because I mean, I can be clear and uncut as me as Troy, not as a man, not as, American, not as blah blah blah. No, Troy, I enjoy the full totality of a person, their humor, their body, their mind, their personality, what have you. Like, the things that we could do together are a multitude of things. However, I do enjoy sex. So yeah, I will always be like, yes, I want to be inside your vagina or your anus if you was in the anal. Like, that was always going to be my thing. That's always going to be the point of being in a relationship with people. If not, then it's literally just call it a friendship. But at the same time, y'all already know, I call everything friendship regardless. It's a platonic friendship or a non-platonic friendship. So there you go. But even still, like, if I wanted to be in a room full of adults where all we did was just talk or watch TV and did nothing sexual, then I would be in a room with my blood family, because I'm not doing anything sexual with my blood family. We already talked about the incest conversation a whole bunch of episodes back. That's not my thing. Just like feet and toes are not my thing. So, just to be clear, again, yeah, if I wanted to be in a room and not have sex, I would do that with my family or with my friends that I'm not having sex with. That's just it. But if I'm in a relationship, I'm going to want to have sex, and I would hope that the partner I'm with is also want to have sex with me. Now, don't get me wrong. I get it. Everybody's not going to be in the same mood as me, like I mentioned before, as well in my previous podcast. I used to give the advice of letting my partners know, like, yeah, my sex drive is always on 10. Like, even if I'm like, I just ran a fucking 28-mile marathon and I'm fucking exhausted and I can't even make it to the fucking car to fucking, like, drive myself home, I would still have enough energy to get aroused and have coitus. And and I would be fine. I would still have a marathon like coitus the way I would always have it if I was in a 28-mile marathon or not. That's just how my body and brain and chemistry is wired. But I understand and I get it how most women, their body autonomy and their personality becomes a certain sexual acts can change and be like, alright, I'm cool on doing it. Like, we had sex for the last 3 days straight, then let's like cool out for like, 2 of those days. I get that. Like, for me, I've always was like 7 days a week, multiple times a day. Who has the time? I do. But like, it was always a thing of making sure that they was comfortable enough to meet me where they can meet me at. And that was always the thing. However, hence my point of being like, if that's not your thing, totally understandable. However, then we can change the dynamic at any point and say we'll just be friends that hang out with each other. Because that's basically what y'all want to do. If y'all want to limit or take away the amount of intercourse or coitus that we're having, then you're changing the dynamic already now, but it's only favoring you for your point of view, but it's not favoring me because I'm going to want to still have the amount of sex that we already having in the beginning, and if you're depleting that, I'm going to go and try to find it from somebody else. I will let you know beforehand. I will never cheat because there's no reason to cheat. We're all grown adults. But I'm definitely going to let you know. But that's my reason why I'm like, I understand when women say, yeah, like, I want to know that this person is going to provide for me for that. And that's their prerogative to say that. And I agree with them. Like, everybody should say straight up what they are willing to accept and not accept in whatever type of dynamic relationship they're getting into or want to be in. Hence why I'm saying I'm good being single. The dynamic of the majority of what is out there coming from women and from the women's sphere is not something that is appealing for me at all, as just me, myself, and I as Troy. Like, it's just not appealing. Like, it's weird energy. It makes no sense. Literally, and I know this, by the time y'all hear this, is not going to be anything that hasn't been talked about to the umpteenth time. But like I said, it is April 4th. And this just happened like this past week. But the woman who, I want to talk about two things. Might be talking about three, but definitely two things. The woman who was at the Chris Brown concert that got on stage, her husband and her went. I'm not sure who bought the tickets. I'm not going to speculate who bought the tickets. I'm not going to assume who bought the tickets. A husband and wife went to a Chris Brown concert, and the wife was called up on stage as she tongue kissed Chris Brown on stage. They are now getting a divorce. And now the woman is literally like, I can't believe he gonna leave me because I tongue kissed Chris Brown. I guess he really didn't love me. I was having fun. That's what matters. Now he's trying to ruin my fun and change up the dynamic and have us get a divorce because he felt some type of way. The lack of accountability and this whole delusion of being like, if it makes me happy, fuck everybody else in a marriage is, it's, y'all cooked. I don't know what else to say. Secondary scenario was the scenario where I really wish this. I literally posted on the video. I was like, this has to be satire. It was. I'm not sure if y'all was abreast to the video of the wife coming out to her husband in his car and literally being like, why are you sitting outside? Come inside the house. And he's like, I just want to be alone. I just want to have a moment to just like collect my thoughts and just be in my own, space before I come in. And she's like, that's stupid. Yeah, y'all, if you've seen the video, you've seen the video. She literally kept on trying to get in the car. She kept on bothering them. Yada. She posted the video of this exchange between her and her husband into the internet. Into where, again, she thought she was going to be able to, I guess, make, I don't know, I don't want to assume or make assumptions or presume or anything about what her thought process was, but the video I seen next was apparently of her, and she was going off talking about how she made the video, she posted the video, her husband doesn't have social media, so he would never have seen the video. However, he does watched the Joe Budden's podcast, and that video was on the Joe Budden podcast. And now, because he watched the podcast, he know the video is out because she posted it. But also his friends who also watches the Joe Budden podcast seen it, and now they were clowning him like, "Yo, that's you, that's fucked up, blah 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 blah." So now this woman, once again, not sure if this is the wife or not. Not sure if this is actually real or not. It could be satire. It was literally there like, I'm blame y'all, Joe Buttons. I blame you, because y'all don't want to made him find out about the video. And it was so funny because all the comments was literally like, but you posted the video. And it was like it was so fun. In fact, I will talk about the third one. The third one I seen just today. It was right before I actually it was before I came out. It was this woman who was talking about, she was like, I had a boyfriend and he was toxic, and he didn't do anything that I wanted him to do, and we broke up, and then I seen him later and he had a new girlfriend, and he came and he was like, "Hey, we should have coffee." And she was like, "No, because if we gonna have coffee, then you gonna act a fool and blah 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 blah." But she was like, I took him out for his coffee offer anyway, and so she was like, I was completely wrong. Like, the things that I thought was gonna happen, he didn't do. Like, he actually apologized for stuff that he did, and he was talking about all the stuff about how he treated his new lady and all the stuff that I was asking him for. He was willing to give to her, and yada yada yada. And she was like, so then because I wasn't expecting that, what I did was I went in at the end to try to kiss him, and he pushed me away and said, no, that's not what I'm here for. I just wanted to have some closure with you and let you know, yada yada yada, and move on. And she was like, I don't understand how he was able to do. And it was so funny because somebody came in at the end of the video, was like, it's so funny seeing the delusion of people, like the saying that crazy people don't know they're crazy, but everybody knows they're crazy, because you literally said how toxic you were, and you didn't even realize you said how toxic you were by saying you went in to kiss this dude knowing he was in a healthy, real relationship, and you wanted to ruin it because I don't even know if she was dating or if she was single at the time. She just was saying what she was saying, but it was just so funny because it was like, she really has no clue. That's really sad. But kudos to that young man, and well done to him for finding somebody that was right for him and stuff like that, especially in this crazy, turbulent world. But yeah, it's wild. It's so wild. Oh, the fourth one was women talking about, it was some woman alive. I couldn't listen to the whole thing because she kept going in circles, but she was like, I don't know if she was trying to agree or disagree with the comment that was on, because it was basically a comment talking about we're waiting for men to be fully extinct, and she was like, yeah, but if they're extinct, wouldn't we repopulate the world with men again when we have kids? But then I guess it would be a choice. He was like, would women really want to still be pregnant if all men were extinct? And it was just it was a circle of her thought processes, going in a circle, and it was a good 10 minutes of lost time of her basically saying the same thing over and over again. I was trying to stick with her, but I was like, I got stuff to do. But regardless, the whole concept of this weird delusion that is this American concept is just done, man. Because the guys are no better in this regard because they're so weird. Everybody's so weird. I've been a nerd and a blurb for all my life. I'm always in the geek atmosphere and yada yada yada. But so I've been around, and it's only a once or twice, and when I found out where they reside at, then I don't go there no more. Which was Comic Cons and different cons and stuff like that, where the unwashed, like unbathed, weird, you know, coat of red pilled like nerds and stuff like that go to all the time. And that was so funny. It was so funny when the cons was literally like, you have to wash up and have deodorant on if you're going to attend these cons, because it's just nasty, man. It's just unhygienic. Like, you come in here smelling like BO. Like, it's nasty, dude. Like, it's so disgusting. But I've been in this scenario, I've been in this world of geekdom for so long to see how toxic everybody is on both sides. If it's not the males on from whatever like side, if it was white males, black males, Asian males, Hispanic, whatever, just males in general, just being weird and just saying, this is what I like, this is what I'm into, and this can't have any type of duration or divergence of anything, yada yada yada. Similar to how women can be when it comes down to them and their wants and needs and stuff like that. Like, I have things that I want and I desire, but at the same time, I'm realistic with mine. I'm not going to say that just because I have a certain type of physical type that I'm into, that, or even a personality type that I'm into, that I'm going to hold that stature for everybody else. Because honestly, let me be honest and truthful with y'all. Like, if I wanted to be real, it would be a thing of Felicia Rashad as Claire Huxtable would have everybody cooked, because that was always like my dream woman. Like, the personality of her as a partner and a spouse and as a woman, like, far beyond is the concept of what I would want for a spouse and a wife and a partner. Like, there's somebody on that level. Like, she was a lawyer. Like, she raised her kids with like decency and respect. She supported her husband. They still had a very active like coitus life. Like, it was the hallmark of what I've always was like, yeah, that's an amazing television marriage. Amazing television marriage. Like, so if I was still to hold like any people, any partners in the standard, like, nobody would be able to like light that candle. They wouldn't be able to like spark the wick. So, but that's just me watching television when I was a kid and not pitting any type of realistic, real world, present date aspects on different personality types and livelihoods and yada yada yada. So it's just funny. But like, these dudes are weird, dude. Like, they'll go and say something and expect you to fucking know what they're talking about just because they said not so. And they're like, not so what? Not so Raven? I don't know what you're talking about. Like, literally, somebody just did that shit today. Like, poster posted something on TikTok about Castlevania, and was talking about how they made such an intricate world of vampires and mages and witches and you know all this stuff, and it was like, but throughout it all, it took one human that was drunk most of the time with a chain and a whip, and he killed everything. Literally went up against the personification of death itself and survived. And so my thing was, I was like, oh, so basically he was Castlevania's version of Dean from Supernatural, because that's all Dean. Dean survived everything. Even when he died, he survived everything. It wasn't until the last episode where he finally just died. I'm sorry, spoiler alert if you haven't watched. But it was like, yeah, like that was like Dean from Supernatural. So it was funny because the person, the OG who actually posted that video, it was like, I was going to say something like that. I was thinking the same thing. I was like, yo, two minds, like great minds think alike type shit. So some dude was like, that ain't right, or something like that, or that's far from the truth. It was some weird 3-word rebuttal. Like, and now mind you, the person posted this like weeks ago. So this person like came out of nowhere, see my comment, and wanted to disagree. So I was like, well, parallel universes are equally as distant as they are layered on top of each other. I don't know what you're talking about it, but I just love French science. So, because it was like, what did your opinion about you thinking my comment was wrong do for you by saying that? Because it didn't do anything to me except for make me think about the parallel universes, which is great, I guess. I mean, I guess thank you. But like, they don't. People pit themselves into a position where they think that because they think that what they think is the best way of going about the situation, which is like, no, that's your limitations on where your level of thinking is. It doesn't mean that you're right. It just means that you have that opinion. And that's just it. Like, you can educate yourself more, and you can still have the same opinion after you educate yourself. You can be like, no, I don't agree with that. But the fact of the matter is, it doesn't matter if you agree or not, because we don't care. Like, literally, myself and the person who posted both was like laughing about it, how we both was thinking the same thing. So clearly, that was on somebody else's mind besides mine. Not to mention all the other likes and people saying like, you know, liking it, saying, yeah, hey, yeah, I agree with that. But regardless, just because a lot of people agree with it don't mean I'm right. But the fact of the matter is, I just made a comparison that people agreed with. And if you didn't agree with it, that's fine, because we're both individuals. We don't have to always agree on everything. So that being the case, but that is a great segue to, I was watching a live of these two individuals talking to Trump supporters, and basically it was a thing where they was like, have you voted for Trump all 3 times, and if you have, do you regret your vote? And it was so weird seeing the majority, because it was of course a majority of like Caucasus Mountains and parasites and stuff like that hopping on, and it was this one Uncle Ruckus type dude that hopped on. That was just he was just blatantly uneducated to the utmost, and it was just, whew. They was to the point where they was up there calling him unintelligent on the goddamn thing in his face, and just was going at it because it made no sense. He literally was saying stuff as if it was facts, and then he later was like, oh, I just feel that way. It's like, well, if you feel that way, that's not a fact. He was like, yeah, but still, it's how I feel, so that matters. And it was like, no, you can't come on here talking about your feelings if we're going off of why you voted for this man. If you wanted to say because of his policies, but you don't know what policies he was saying or what you agreed with, you're just saying weird rhetoric. And it was like, well, he said he was going to close the borders, and he didn't. He's deporting all these illegals. No, he's not. Like, it's literally recorded. Like, what was it? Department of Home Defense or like that. It was like only out of like the amount of people that ICE is rounding up. Fuck ICE. Fuck Trump. Fuck the establishment. Her rounding up, like what, 1 to 3% of these people are literally have egregious, violent offenses or illegal offenses. All the rest of them are either American citizens or people who came into this country legally or are waiting for their status to be legally made citizens. Like, not to mention the terrorizing as well as murder of actual United States citizens that aren't illegal aliens, which, once again, there's no such thing as an illegal alien because man made these borders. No one, literally no one, has the right to say you can't come on this land, especially when this land, if you want to be real about it, was originally stolen from the indigenous people. So, like, the fuck? The delusion is fucking hilarious. But it's so funny because it was. I've been doing a social experiment. Another one, of course, because I'm bored and people like make me laugh. So I've been leaving voice memos to a lot of white associates of mine who I've known over the years, managers, people I still talk to every now and then to say happy birthday to, yada yada yada. But I've been sending messages basically because I was like, hey, I'm going to be in the market for purchasing a handgun. A lot of people don't know if I have my handgun or not. I will disclose that when I feel like disclosing that. But until then, keep on keeping on. But yeah, I've been leaving voice memos to a lot of my, white counterparts, white, associates and stuff like that, and just being like, hey, just wanted to ask a favor. You're white in this climate. I don't want to be harassed by the cops or having the cops called on me because I'm going to go purchase a firearm or a handgun. Would you accompany me to these establishments so I can have, a buffer, a white counterpart, if you will, to be like, hey, this guy is cool because he knows white people. A token. I want to have a token white person to go with me in white areas to, feel safe. So, regardless if I have my gun or not, I want to see, one, how long it would take for them to reply, and two, what their answer is going to be, and what excuse they're going to say so that they can get out of being that token. So, I'll keep y'all abreast on. It's not going to be like a elongated thing, like it's not going to be a month thing like I did last time, but it's literally more than likely episode 27 of the podcast. I'll probably be like, I asked like 8 people and 8 of them said no or something like that, or I asked 9 people and 4 of them said no and 5 of them said yes, yada yada yada. So I'll get back to that. I don't know what the developments of these, this experiment is going to yield. However, it's still going to be entertaining to me, so that's all that matters to me. But anyway, yeah, it was just, it's funny because listening to that live, going back to the live and listening to the live, it was interesting because it was always something that I always would say in the past about racism. I was like, racism stems, in my opinion, and of course, I would love to discuss this with anybody, but in my opinion, racism started because of the fact that when these colonizers, these parasites, went over to Africa and they was able to see different African men and women in their natural habitat of being unclothed, of having, their penises out on display and having women having their breasts out and their, vaginas and everything out on display, and, labor majora, labor minora, everything out on display and everything. Like, one, these parasites instantly became lustful to the women, some of them for the men as well. But also, a lot of the men became jealous. A lot of these little dick, minuscule, thin pencil dick little motherfuckers seeing these Mandingo fucking tree trunks swinging in the fucking, wind, just on a natural humbug, not even on arousal shit. And they was like, how can we compete with this majesty of a fucking penis? And that's what started the whole genre of being like, clearly we have to like dominate them because they dominate us in so much. To the point where even still, when they brought over, like, enslaved the slave trade of so many different people, these white dudes kept on raping the women as well as raping the men. But also, the men who were enslaved were giving it to these white chicks so bad to the point where the white dudes had to start lobotomizing the white chicks. They was literally squirting and having massive orgasms, multiple orgasms, and to the point where they was like, these women are possessed. We've never made them come like this. We've never seen them act this way. It's all after the fact of these Mandingo dicks penetrating them that they've been acting like this. Clearly, they're crazy. They're going through hysteria. We gotta lobotomize them. So it's always been the thing about sexuality, race, and the case in point, going back to my original like concept of this conversation, the gentleman and his friend, I'm not sure if it's his girlfriend or if it's his sister or his best friend, I don't know what their dynamic, but the two black people that was running this live was talking to this one white dude, and apparently the black woman know of the white dude. I don't know how they interact with each other, but she vouched for him, was like, no, he's not an ally, but he's not so far on the right side of being a bigot, yada yada. He just is opinionated on his side of the line of, liking Trump, yada yada yada, but he's not disrespectful. I don't know, she was just vouching for him. So gave him a chance to start talking, and he tried to say that the black dude lied. So the black dude was like, "Let me know where I lied at. Like, tell me where I lied at." He couldn't figure anything out. He couldn't repeat or regurgitate the delusion that was in his head that made him feel inferior to then try to discredit the black man he was talking to by trying to say he was a liar. So he changed the format and he started talking about something else, trying to, of course, jump the topic and try to go to something else, which is one of the things that they love to do the most. If you bring them a fact and say, first of all, they'll try to say something to get you to got you. When you tell them a fact about what their dumbass got you question did not yield, they'll be like, well, that really don't matter. Let's talk about something else. It's like you the one who brought up the first conversation. Now it don't matter because you know you're wrong. Or you know that I have more insight over the topic that you do. So now you want to fucking move the goalposts and have a different thing go into a conversation. So anyway, somehow the black young man started doing satire, and he started no, that's what it was. The white dude brought up a whole thing about how some YouTuber or some Instagram or TikTok dude who's a right winger and blah blah blah, a Trumper maggot, was basically like now being pulled into Trump's like press room to be a part of the yada yada yada, the propaganda machine bullshit. So he was like, hey, he started from the bottom now. He's like, that's not what that, like, he's like, that's not what the Drake song was about. That's not, it's like getting it from the mud, blah, blah, blah. And so he started doing satire and putting on a deeper voice and being more urban and stuff like that. So the white dude literally went into this weird sexual fetish thing. It was like, yeah, That's right. That's what I want to hear. You sound like an alpha in this one. You sound like an alpha. You sound like a beta before. You sound like a beta, but now you sound like an alpha. Yeah, that's what I like to hear. That's And it started getting sexual. It started getting so sexual. And it got to the point where even people in the podcast, on the live during the chat was like, it sounded like he wants you to dom him with that voice. And he was like, "No, I ain't saying it. Y'all making it out to be gay. I'm not gay. Y'all gay." It was like, so the dude was like, so the dude asked the guy who was running the live. He was like, "What are you in the guys? Are you like messing with guys?" He was like, "What does bisexuality have to do with anything? Do you want to fuck me?" "No, that's gay." So he's like, "Why would you ask me if what my sexuality is?" "Oh, I'm just saying because," it was like, you saying what? Gay stuff? It don't make sense. Because, I mean, if that's your sexual preference, cool. But, like, why you need to know mine? Because, trust me, I'm not trying to fuck you even if I was into that. And he was like, "Well, that's just the problem with y'all liberals, blah, blah, blah." He was like, "Listen," it's like, if being liberal means that I'm into being intimate or having relationships with a male, female, or somebody that's non-gender, yada yada yada, and that also means that I can also have health care for all, and I don't have to worry about white people going around trying to shoot people with fucking ice vest on and blah blah blah. He's like, "I'll gladly be a liberal. That's not a problem. What's wrong with that?" He's like, "It's just y'all ruining the country." Once again, it just went to this whole weird analogy thing, but it kept going to the thing where every time he would use the voice again, because people would give in super chats and stuff like that. I mean, like, "Here's $2 from starting from the bottom down here," like stuff. So he would retort the voice again, and the dude went straight back into it and being like, "That's what I like to hear. Yeah, that's what I love. Just keep walking, just talking like that. Just keep talking like that." It was so bizarre, and it took me back to like that original thought. Like, all this shit has always been about just jealousy of like the black body and the lack that the other white meat has, then like it was just funny, and it was just like, it always comes down to that. It always comes to the weird sexuality thing with them. It's always this thing about what other people are doing in the bedroom that they're not doing. It's so odd. Like, it's so odd. It don't make any sense. Like, as much as I'm like, yes, I enjoy being a voyeur and I enjoy being an exhibitionist, I'm not going around thinking about what anybody else is doing sexually. And it's so funny because that's usually one of the main arguments that right-wing people really be having. They be like, "Oh, the gays are trying to have sex with kids." And it's like, I've never, all the gay people and people in the LGBT community that I've been around, none of them have ever, around me, ever mentioned like trying to have sex with kids or sleep around with kids and like that. It's always been the majority of these people that these topics come up around, or you find out later that these people have been the culprit of, have always been white Christian males, and sometimes white Christian females. There's very few times where you go into a news report or you see something documented where it's like other races outside of white races. Now, I'm not saying there's no exception to the rules, because anybody of any race and creed has the capacity of being good, evil, or indifferent. However, the majority of the cases, and this is stuff I would, honestly, I'll probably look up myself later on to see the demographics of which ones are the highest demographic or not. But like, yeah, because even though the information is still going to be skewed because of the fact that a lot of these cases are not being reported into these files and stuff like that. Just like most assaults and abuses cases aren't like always reported because of the fact of the scrutiny that women and some men have to endure when they actually do come out to confront their accosters. So, but for the ratio of status of right now, I'm actually want to look that up because I always like looking up that, like, even with the whole statistics of women and the divorce rate, like, I want to say it's still women, lesbian relationship or woman to woman marriage relationships are like 70% of like the divorce rate. Like they have like 70% of the divorce rate, while men and women divorce rates are like, I want to say like the 45 to 50 rate, while men and men divorce rates are like 20 to 30%. Like it's really low. But like for women and women, the rate is like super high. So that's always been funny to me because the whole thing of it's always men's fault for stuff, but men and men relationships, they have less divorce rates than women and women. There is no man in this sight to be blamed for anything, but still somehow it's always a man's fault. And even though some of these like studs are now, and even soft like soft les are like coming out and being like, yeah, I can understand what men are talking about now, which is hilarious. Which it's so funny seeing their facial expressions when they have to admit that men weren't wrong. It's so funny. I just seen another video on TikTok where it was talking about a woman who was married, and it was talking about her husband, and it's talking about, you know, the differences. She was literally like commending her husband and bigging him up, and it was funny because she worded something a certain way. She was like, even when I'm less than right, she couldn't even like say when I was wrong. Me as a person, as a feminine individual being wrong. She was like, as I was less right, so I never heard less right before. I'm actually going to start using less right from now on. Like instead of saying wrong, I'm going to say, oh no, I was less right. I was just less right. That's it was brilliant. But so, but it. Sorry, I digress so much. But going back to the concept of just like the delusion that is on such a grand scale when it comes to America in a whole, because point blank period, you have one, the white male who is just first of all, I think I said this before, but I can't remember if I said it on the podcast or not. I'm playing Final Fantasy 7, and I really do feel like this is the biggest joke of the American experience through the eyes of Japan, regurgitated back to us as the American people, because you have white, blonde hair, blue eye Cloud, who's a soldier who, you know, he believes in the mission, but also he believed in his hero, and he turns out his hero murdered everybody in his family because that's what Americans do. But I'll get to that in a second. But he still is delusional. He has PTSD. He's suffering from a sickness. He's schizophrenic. He's seeing delusions of grandeur. He's having delusions of grandeur of himself because he believes he's the only one that can take out this hero that no one else was able to take care of and suffer from. But he can do it. He can do it, and no one else can tell him differently because he's the man, and he can do whatever he wants because he's Cloud Strife. Then you have how America see monogamy, how America see relationships. Of you always have this Cloud who has one girlfriend who is Aerith and another girlfriend that's Tifa, and he can't be with both of them because in America that's wrong. You can only be monogamous. You can only choose one. You only choose one. But then on top of it, you gotta bring in Yuffie, who's 16 at the time. Mind you, Cloud is like 23, Aerith is like 24, Tifa is like 22, 23, Yuffie is like 16. Barrett, who is the only black man on the team, has a gun for an arm. Literally like how white people always be acting like, oh, well, that black man has Skittles in his hand. He was a black child, first of all. So that Skittles, I thought it was a gun. Even though it says taste the rainbow all over the pack, and it's a bright red pack, you thought it was a gun. The cell phone in the hand, thought it was a gun. A hand in the hand, they thought it was a gun. So literally, every time they see a black person, they see a black person with a gun. So they literally grafted a gun on this black man's fucking arm. Because he literally has a gun arm. While he is a fucking adopted dad, he has a daughter that is from another friend of his, who is the white dude, who also has a gun for a hand, who literally later on, unbeknownst to them, framed Barrett for a crime that everybody just assumed Barrett, the black man with the gun, did, because no one else apparently seen the white dude with the gun. They just seen the black man with the gun because everybody was hyper focused on the black man. So then you have the racist dog, who every time Cloud came around, he was all like, yeah, we do a Cloud. So as soon as Barrett says son, he started growling at Barrett until they got, better in their relationship and yada, yada, yada. But it was just funny. Love, like, Final Fantasy was like a laughing ass joke of America through the eyes of Japan. So funny. I'm still playing it, by the way. I love it. I'm kind of trying to get first place in the Chocobo race in the big amusement park mall setting. Like, I'm really enraptured and locked in on the little young bull Bill or Billy, who's like raising the chocobos with his little sister in like one of the first areas that you go to on Rebirth, and how he's trying to like get the the skinny on the information about his parents through the rival that also like runs chocobo. Like, I'm super invested in this storyline. Like, I've been getting first place in every race, and I'm like trying to like get the gold for this last race. It is this. As soon as I finish this podcast and go shop and get some Chinese food, that's the first thing I'm doing. I'm literally going back home and going back to like that chocobo race. Anyway, super invested. But I want to say after I finish that chocobo thing, I'm going to speed run the rest of the game, because I kind of want to play something else. I want to get back to Last of Us, because I already played Last of Us. I always played the first Last of Us, Part 1. I haven't played Part 2 yet. I watched Part 2. I watched the whole thing. It's a beautiful game. That's another thing about dudes being weird. Like, what? It's so annoying. It's so annoying. This is why I'm like, I'm okay with the nukes falling. Like, at this point, just restart the population. Like, let the dust settle. Let people come from the underground, from their underground cities and stuff like that, which is like apparently like 8 underground cities in the United States that I never knew about. But regardless, like, let them come out and then let them repopulate the world, and hopefully it'll be a better new world order or something like that. I don't know, just better than what it is, because it's ridiculous. So you got dudes who are literally mad that Ellie was like into girls, but Ellie is a fictional character in a video game. You'll never meet Ellie in real life, because there's no such thing as that. The individual is Ellie in real life. The person who voiced Ellie doesn't even look like Ellie. That's Ashley Johnson, which I adore her. She's hilarious. She just gets my humor. Like, I would love to like just hang out and like talk to her one day, like through Skype, because I don't want to be in a room with anybody anymore. I don't want to be. I don't want to be around people anymore. But Skyping is fine. FaceTiming is fine. But like, yeah. Or them being mad at literally Laura Bailey for voicing a character because of the fact that her character killed Joel. And it's like, y'all do know these are fictional characters. Like, when they'll get so fucking bleeding hard about this stuff, it's like, yo, go touch grass. Like, I really do agree with a lot of these people that be like, yo, go touch grass. Like, this shit is not that deep. Like, Michael B. Jordan being Johnny Storm in the Fantastic movie, and everybody being mad about that. Like, these are fictional characters that live within a multiverse. Like, why are y'all mad if these characters aren't white? Y'all have a plethora of books from like 1970 up till now of them just mainly being white. Why are you so mad? Like, y'all wasn't mad when it was the Fantastic Four, when it was Wolverine, Hulk, Ghost Rider, and Spider-Man. Like, what the fuck? It don't make sense. Like, so, yeah, it's hilarious. But regardless, I'm gonna call it here because I'm starting to get peckish. And I don't want to get some Chinese. So as soon as I mention Chinese food, that's been ticking in the back of my mind the whole time. Chinese food. So yeah, we'll go shopping, get my wine, probably get some more steak so I can marinate that this week. And yeah, probably gonna relax and play some more video games and finish some schoolwork and just chill. But yeah, final words. This whole experiment of America is cooked. Like, it's done. Like, they literally sent American soldiers over there into Iran. It was like, oh no, this is a training exercise. No, this is war. Y'all sent these kids in a war. And it was so sad because somebody just sent, like, I'm not sure if this is real or not, so do your research. But like, somebody posted on something on X. Oh, speaking of which, really quick disclaimer. My X account I have not been able to access my X account for about 3-4 months now. So if you see anything from I Am Troyiverse on X, that's not me. I haven't had access to it for a minute. I want to say, yeah, for about like a couple of months now. And I've been meaning to say it on the podcast, but every time I like think about it, I'm not doing a podcast. So that I actually mentioned it just now. I'm actually glad I remembered it. But yeah, it was somebody who had an X account who was I seen a post on a TikTok account. They was talking about it, but it was some young lady who was talking about how her brother was hitting her up and was talking about how it's not real, wouldn't let the American soldiers into the bomb shelter, and how they betrayed the American soldiers and left them out there to be bombarded by missiles and bombs and shit like that. So yeah, there's that. But not to mention, like, if you can't keep saying we won the war, we're winning the war, but you still asking for like $2 trillion to fucking fight the war. Or you saying, oh, we're gonna be bringing our troops home in the next 2 weeks, but you're still sending troops over there. It don't make sense. None of this makes sense. So do your research, and thankfully and hopefully y'all not only listening to one source of media to hear about the lies or propaganda that the administration is fucking like vomiting into your mouths, but like, this shit is crazy. This shit is wild. Like, they literally put a lunatic in the office because they're racist, bigoted pieces of shit who believes that they are inferior to so many different people that they had to like change the dynamic to make themselves feel superior. So sad. I can't wait till they're gone. I can't. I'm looking forward to them all being gone. But that's my final word. I will let y'all go and enjoy the rest of y'all week. And I will be seeing y'all next week or the week after next or whatever like that. Whenever y'all hear this podcast, know that I am with you. Alright, y'all have a good one. This has been a Troyiverse production.